Hi, I'm Josh. I'm one of the educators on the course or moderators, and I wanted to give a kind of personal reflection on what I've got out of this week and what I think the main themes are. So there's really kind of four areas I wanted to talk about: community of practice in online learning, making connections and being critical, and also thinking about the learner experience and the affordances or opportunities for learning that are created in different environments. And finally, maybe look forward to next week and also talk about some possible innovations in language learning and online learning and technology enhanced pedagogies, for example. So to start with community of practice, last week we were talking about community of practice, and I think the community that grows up around this course is an excellent example of a good, productive community of practice. People encouraging each other, helping each other, openly sharing experiences, asking questions. That's great, and we really want to try and encourage that. And it's difficult in a basically text-only platform. And I come across some interesting research about using emoticons, for example, to add emotional tone in online learning. So I thought you might be interested in those. So I'll link to a couple of conversations that relate to that topic, and the paper will be in the links here. So to move on to connections and taking a critical perspective, I think a lot of people are enthusiastic about the idea of learning and making connections, perhaps without engaging too deeply in the theory of connectivist learning, which you can find out more about in the papers there. But also a lot of people were pointing to the importance of taking a critical perspective and thinking about whether the information you're accessing is really credible, whether it's grounded in evidence, and also about the kind of motivations that people might have for doing whatever they're doing, or telling you whatever they're telling you, or making you learn, or helping you learn in the ways that they're helping you learn. So I think that those kind of critical comments are good. Evidence is that people are taking a critical perspective. And there's a great talk by Xian that was at the University of Southampton conference not so long ago, so I'd recommend looking at that in terms of thinking about educational technology and being critical. Here I am again in a different place. For some reason that I don't really understand, I lost the audio on that recording. And I guess that's one of the things that you have to be careful with when you're trying to do teaching and learning with technology. Things do go wrong. Anyway, to get back to what I was talking about, I was particularly interested, I wanted to pick up on the idea of affordances, the opportunities for learning that are created in different environments, the opportunities for interaction that can lead to learning that are created in different environments, and the user experience, understanding user experience. And I think that the idea of user experience and the idea of affordances very common in kind of in technology design, and those have come into educational technology design and into learning design to some extent. So by affordances I mean creating by affordances I mean opportunities for interaction that can lead to learning. And I think there's a very interesting paper that we've shared elsewhere, that we'll share here as well, about how to doing lesson planning for language learning in terms of affordances, in terms of creating opportunities for learning rather than in terms of outcomes. And what's important there is that emphasizes the agency of the learners. You can design a learning opportunity, a learning experience, but what actually happens is it's interpreted by someone else, and the way they interpret it and the way they enact it is what's important in terms of learning. So I'd recommend looking at that paper, and also a paper called Action-Based Learning by Van Leer, which essentially also refers to affordances and to the agency, the importance of understanding the agency of the learner, and that being important in their learning outcomes. And that leads me to talk a little bit about learner experience design, which is beginning to be a topic in language learning as well. And I think there's an interesting talk at IATEFL about learner experience design for English language teaching, so I'd recommend having a look at that. That's ways of understanding how your learners or helping them participate in designing learning experiences and understanding the way they experience your learning designs or your designs for learning. So do have a look at that if you can. And I'll move on finally to, what was I going to talk about? Oh yes, innovations and technology and how that can affect learning experiences. I think there was a long conversation about whether it's possible to learn entirely online, and I think that obviously the difference between digital and physical environments is changing daily. There's always been opportunities to learn through immersion in virtual environments like Second Life, but things like Google Cardboard and the Explorers program are making virtual reality much more accessible. And I imagine that in the future, learning in digital environments online through virtual reality experiences will enable the kind of naturalistic learning that we were speaking about last week as well, in a much more convincing way. There's also the interaction between technology and pedagogy, and I think I found a talk about language futures in one of the British Council conferences inspiring, where a teacher talks about how her whole kind of conception of what is successful teaching of languages has changed as a result of introducing that pedagogy. So essentially they help learners learn the language of their own choice, even when the teacher doesn't actually know that language. And I can't see how that kind of pedagogy would really work without the technological innovations we have today. So I guess I'll bring it to an end there. I'm really looking forward to next week and talking about the evolution of language, and there's already a lot of conversation about evolution of language and its interaction with kind of communications technologies and how those affect language. So I'll add some links to those conversations as well. So yeah, great, keep it up, keep on making the connections, keep creating, culturing a supportive community of practice, and I look forward to speaking to you all in the comments next week. Bye.